A bike that has grown to be of almost mythic proportions, where even saying its name will cause die-hard fanboys to wet their pants with delight. Busa! And the bike that Kawasaki themselves claimed to be the king of all sport bikes, and was specifically designed to knock the reigning champ off of its throne, the ZX14R. Hi, how's it going? I'm Kwackajack, and thanks for joining along for another video in the Versus series, where we match together two bikes in a head-to-head for a specs comparison. We'll be comparing the legendary Suzuki Hayabusa against Kawasaki's self-proclaimed King ZX14R by looking at claimed engine and power stats, exhaust sounds, weight, suspension, brakes, features, and price. And stick around at the end of the video for some straight-up drag strip madness between these two monsters as well. Before we get started, please do me a huge favour by giving this video a like and hitting subscribe so you can join the motorcycle loving family, and leave a comment down below telling me which bike you prefer. Alright, let's get straight into it. Let's have a brief history and good look at the styling of these two bikes. The Suzuki Hayabusa was introduced in 1999 as the GSX1300R and got almost immediate acclaim by being the world's fastest production motorcycle. Since then it has seen a few slight updates, but has largely remained the same bike, garnering an almost cult-like following and having a long history of modifications, such as lowering, extending, and adding turbos. The Hayabusa has become a legend both on and off the drag strip, with reports of modified but still road-legal bikes reaching speeds of over 430 km an hour, and it being the bike that achieved the land speed world record for motorcycles in 2011, with a highly modded version of the bike reaching an insane 502 km an hour. Suzuki labels the Hayabusa as the ultimate sport bike, and it makes a real case for it too. But then, in 2006, not to be outdone, Kawasaki reveals its most powerful motorcycle to date, the ZX14R, overtaking the previous ZX12R. Upon release, this became the most powerful production motorcycle as well, and even though it hasn't reached the almost mythical levels of fame the Hayabusa has, Kawasaki holds no punches and calls it the king of all sport bikes, and a lot of people seem to agree. I'll leave it to you, which one do you prefer the styling of? Let's move on to what makes these motorcycles so insane, the engines. The Hayabusa features a 1340cc inline 4-cylinder engine that produces a staggering 195 horsepower at 9,500 RPM, and 155 Nm of torque at 7,200 RPM. It's really the torque figures of these two bikes which give them their ungodly amount of pull from basically anywhere in the rev range. These stats allow the Busa to reach 100 km an hour in a claimed 2.6 seconds, and its top speed of 300 km an hour. It's also important to note that the stock versions of these bikes are more than capable of reaching higher top speeds, but due to the gentleman's agreement between the bike manufacturers in 2000, the top speeds are electronically limited to 300 km an hour. This was to stop the carnage from everyone trying to bring out a bigger and faster top speed motorcycle. The ZX14R is packing a 1441cc inline 4-cylinder engine, which makes an eye-watering 207 horsepower at 10,000 RPM by using its ram air mount, and 158 Nm of torque at 7,500. That pushes the Kawi from 0 to 100 km an hour in a claimed 2.6 seconds as well, and again back to its limited top speed of 300 km an hour. Really, when it gets to this level of power, it all comes down to the quality of launch between riders. But by going by specs alone, the Kawasaki ZX14R does topple the mighty Hayabusa by having more CCs and an extra 12 horsepower and 3 torque to be the more powerful bike. Now let's have a listen to what these two sound like. Moving on to the weight, these are both big bikes, with the Suzuki Hayabusa clocking in at 266 kilograms wet, and the Kawasaki ZX14R at a kilogram more at 267 kilograms. So even despite having a 100cc bigger engine, the Kawi weighs only 1 kilogram more than the Suzuki. At the end of the day though, these are both very large motorcycles, and that is of course to accommodate for those motors. As for suspension and brakes, both manufacturers claim that these are do-it-all motorcycles that are just as competent commuting or tackling a windier road as they are pulling crazy quarter-mile times, with most reviewers supporting the claim that both are more agile than their size would suggest. On the Hayabusa up front, you're getting 43mm KYB inverted forks with adjustable compression and rebound damping, and a KYB shock with adjustable compression and rebound damping and spring preload at the rear. As for the brakes, up front you've got Brembo 4-piston calipers biting dual 310mm floating discs, and at the rear, a Tokiko single piston caliper with a 260mm disc. Both have ABS as standard, so even though this is a very big, very fast bike, it should still be able to handle corners relatively well. On the ZX14R up front, there is another 43mm fork with compression and rebound damping and spring preload adjustability, and at the rear, a bottom link uni-track with gas charged shock which are adjustable as well. When it comes to the brakes, up front are dual semi-floating 310mm pedal discs with dual radial mounted opposed 4-piston calipers, and at the rear a single 250mm pedal disc with opposed twin piston caliper. These are upgraded to Brembos on the last special edition models. Again, even though these are large bikes, the reports for how well they handle considering their size are very positive. Of course, don't expect nimble super sports handling like on a ZX6R or Gixxer 600, but you should still be able to use them fairly well. Now usually when we come to the features section of these videos, I rattle off a long list of up-to-date and flashy extras that are added onto the bikes. But that's not the case today. When it comes to these two, you're actually running very light when it comes to the extras. The focus on these motorcycles is their insane engines and power stats. So for the Hayabusa, the extras and features that come with the bike include 3 rider modes, ABS, adjustable suspension, and if you consider it a feature, the analog dash that will make you feel like you're in a cockpit. This is bringing it back to pure motorcycling, and the list of features absent is actually much larger than what's included. No traction control, quick shifter, LED lighting, no TFT dash or Bluetooth. This is a speed machine through and through. You get a few more features on the ZX14R, with its noticeable features being adjustable suspension, power modes, ABS, 3-mode Kawasaki traction control, adjustable clutch, a slipper clutch, an analog dash with small LCD cluster, and retractable luggage hooks. Wow, Cowie, really throwing it in there. So as for features, the ZX14 is the more equipped motorcycle. Moving to the price of these two, the Hayabusa is also the cheaper bike, with the right-of-way price in Australia being $18,990. That's almost $5,000 cheaper than the Kawasaki, which has a right-of-way price of $23,840 Australian. Of course, you could pick up a second-hand model of either bike for quite a lot less, but from the shop, the Hayabusa is the cheaper bike, and by a fair margin. So there you have it guys, the Suzuki Hayabusa and the Kawasaki ZX14R. Which one do you think deserves to be crowned king? Sadly, it seems that Kawasaki will be discontinuing the ZX14R after this year, due to the H2 being the logical upgrade. We're also expecting a refreshed Hayabusa in the next coming year as well, so that's really exciting. As promised, for sticking around to the end and for smashing that like button, here's some straight up drag race madness between the two. Thanks again for watching guys, make sure you've clicked subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know which two bikes you'd like to see up on the chopping blocks next. Till next time, see ya!